time to talk about week 25, June 17th. Let's talk about it.
I want to talk about recorded video content. A lot of my content involves a lot of heavy editing. And I've been working on some ways to speed up that editing because I want to do other things other than just pay videos. I don't want to discontinue the pay videos because a lot of people like them and it shows a true picture of what our industry is capable of doing. And it has inspired people to look for better carriers than where they're currently at. I've talked to many of them. And a lot of those people have went on, not necessarily to Cheeseman, but to other places. And it has resulted in them making more money because they know that it's out there. And they know the best carriers are the ones not advertising. So I want to keep making those videos, but I have to come up with ways to make them less labor intense. They've got to get them done faster. So what I'm working on is I'm using the power of Excel and Word and 11 Labs to make the section of the video where I show all the slides, what I made and everything, and how many miles I drove, make that part of it more or less automated. If I can get that part knocked out, then all I have to do on these particular videos is 3 parts. The intro at the beginning before the bumper, this part right here, and the final thoughts at the end. So I'd really like to get as much of this automated as possible, and I'm hoping that frees me up to make other video content, such as backing at the truck stops with the drone up in the air, some more content videos to show you what LTL is like, because I've been doing LTL and full truckload. Now, a lot of times it doesn't do me any good to show you what I'm doing because I drive at night sometimes. And, well, let's just say that's kind of boring to show. I'm working on it. I'm trying to come up with a mix. And I think if you stick around and stay tuned, you'll enjoy what you see. Now on to the recorded part of the content, and I'll catch back up in the final thoughts.
Let's talk about logs. This week I had 2157 dispatched miles, 1549 logged miles, and 1549 odometer miles. Logged miles do not always agree with dispatched miles due to carryover, which are runs that start in one pay week and end in the next. My average net speed for this week was 53 miles per hour. Keep in mind, this is not what my cruise control is set to, but rather my logged miles divided by time spent on driveline. Utilization percentage, which is determined based upon 61.25 hours in a 7-day week. My utilization this week was 53%. My total on duty time this week was 32.73 hours, and of that 89% was on driveline. The 3 days in green were when I was on home time. It's time to look at my unedited pay statement for period 25 of 2023. This statement encompasses all the trips that I completed between June 11th and June 17th. The first trip of this week went from Fort Recovery, Ohio to Duluth, Georgia. It paid $419 for 572 miles. The second trip of this week went from Newcastle, Indiana to Arlington, Texas. It paid $683 for 976 miles. The third trip of this week went from Duluth, Georgia to Newcastle, Indiana, and had a stop in Beaufort, Georgia. It paid $608 for 408 miles. Moving on to the summary box. This week, I was paid $22 for empty miles, $76 for handling and securement, $1,351 for loaded miles, $60 for stops, $1,510 for a total of 2,157 miles. That calculates out to 70 cents per mile. Looking at the year to date, this is the 25th week of the year. My gross income to date is $53,295. I have driven 69,532 miles. This gives an average gross income of $2,131 per week. The average miles driven per week is 2,781. Multiplying that by 52 gives an annual estimation of $110,812 for 144,612 miles. Okay, the calendar. This week I was on the road for 4 days. I was on home time for 3 days. So far in the month of June, I have worked 13 days, been at home for 3 days, and taken 1 day off on the road. Looking at the year to date, I have worked 123 days. I've been home 31 days, and I have taken 14 days off on the road. Overtime calculation. Let's keep in mind this is just a hypothetical situation, as most truck drivers are actually not paid by the hour and don't get overtime pay. So consider this a fun little what-if game for this past week. My gross pay was $1,510, and I clocked in 32.7 hours of work at a typical hourly job that would be divided into 32.7 regular hours and 0 hours of overtime. If we use that breakdown, it turns out my effective pay rate would be about $46.15 per hour. But let's say there was no overtime and it was all straight pay. In that case, my hourly rate would be the same. The difference in the slide is rounding. Taking a broader view and looking at the year to date, I've earned a total of $53,592 and worked 1,355 hours. Out of those hours, 992 would be considered regular time, and the remaining 363 would count as overtime if we were calculating it on a weekly basis. In this scenario, my effective pay rate, including overtime, would come out to about $34.89 per hour. However, if we were to calculate it all as straight time, it would be approximately $54.03 per hour.
Now it's time for Tom's final thoughts. And what do you think the MPG on this thing is? M60A3? Guaranteed it's not too good. This particular truck stop out here in Nebraska has got a tank, it's got a train caboose, it's got a real restaurant in it. It's a pretty interesting place. You should check it out. I may do a video on it. I want to do some videos about different truck stops that we visit out here. I want to do a little one, maybe something called Sleeper Life, where I talk about life on the road and what it's actually like out here. There's a lot of people who are thinking about getting into this industry, and they really are undecided because they don't know what to do with themselves when they're into sleeper. Now, one problem I have is I drive pretty hard. I stop for 10 hours and 1 minute and I'm rolling, or I'm doing a 7-3 split. I want to run my clock pretty hard. I don't need to run my clock hard. I like to set records. I'm a challenge person, and whenever I see a goal or something I've got to try to break, I'm always looking to try to do the best numbers possible. It's probably one of the things I should probably work on, is not to work so hard to make the numbers where they're at. I've grown to respect YouTubers a lot more over these last couple of years of making the content, because I realize just how difficult it is to turn out videos. There's a lot more to knock out the videos than what you just see on a 5-minute video. There's a lot of thought that has to go into it. There's a lot of retakes. You just don't know how much I've had to cut out because I screw up all the time. I am not good at talking to a camera. There's a couple people out here that, man, they just take that camera and they make that camera do exactly what they want. They tell that camera what to do, and man, that video just comes out flows smooth as heck. Me, I got to cut it a bunch of times. I've got to edit it. I've had a lot of audio problems. I have not been good at audio. I think I've done you guys a disservice over the last couple of years, and I appreciate those of you who stuck with it. When I look back at some of my earlier videos, and even some not so long ago, I don't have consistent audio from beginning to end. And those things, they drive me crazy, because consistency is important. Quality is important. Well, that's all for this time. And these are my final thoughts. Make sure you're enjoying every day at work.